Hello. Hello, YouTube. Sorry we're late. We're going to do a little bit of an abridged thing tonight because for whatever reason, we're having technical difficulties with like our main downward pointed camera. So we don't want to do the full thing that we had planned for tonight with the traffic lights, which I'm a little bit sad about. But we do still have some things we can show you, and we can definitely show you the traffic light project and kind of talk about what we're going to be doing, and then we're going to like move the actual soldering and stuff to next week. So yeah, it's our downward pointed camera that is, for whatever reason, not wanting to talk to the computer, and so it's kind of hard to do to see things close up without that. It has a pretty nice zoom on it, and we were just trying to put a phone camera down at the bench, and it just sucked. You can't see anything small. So anyway, glad you're here. What I did want to show off was the finished project from last week. Yay! So watch Miss Sparkle. We're all sparkly. So this was really a delightful project. And really, we did pretty much all of the hard stuff last week. We set up for like that first LED, and then wiring up all the rest of the LEDs was super easy. And I'm going to show you the inside. Hey, Links. Are we using OBS Studio or some other streaming software? We're using StreamYard, but it's not a problem with the software. It's like, for whatever, I think it's a problem with our HDMI to USB dongle, because the video just isn't getting into the computer. So it seems to have just perhaps crapped out or something. Camera's working fine. I can see the video like on the tiny little camera screen. But yeah, it's just not getting to the computer, which is sad. So, okay, I'm going to turn this off before pulling the bag inside out. Because, of course, for anybody who is doing any kind of stitching thing or is used to knitting or doing things with yarn, sometimes the most interesting side to see is the wrong side, because that gives you an idea of like how it was constructed and what people did. So turning the bag inside out now. So you can see this is our pocket with the battery in it right there. And I did a better job of tacking down the battery wires. So this is the battery holder. You can see that there. And these little pieces of blue yarn are just, just wrapped around the wires. And I'm holding the positive and negative with those two big pieces of conductive tape far apart so that they're not shorting. And yeah, and this is now really, really sturdy. I can't really wiggle that at all in there. It's just like, so, oh yeah. So comment is that the LEDs change pattern and rates. They're super, like, I love these little LEDs. They're 5 millimeter, self-flashing rainbows. They work off of like 3 volts, and yeah, they have all that built-in flashing and patterning. And now we lift up. That is the backside. Yay. So you can see we just sort of like made a rainbow over the unicorn there. And oh, Links, I totally took your suggestion from last time, and everything's backwards, of course, right now. I labeled this with a little piece of red yarn right there. So this one is the positive wire and the positive trace, essentially, going around the bottom of the rainbow. And the one on top is negative, or the battery ground. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And if I wanted to do more LEDs, I mean, you totally can. I only used 5, and she gives you 10 in the kit. And so, you could do more, and you could see like, you could go down here in the hair maybe, or something like that, or maybe one in the eyeball or things like that. So that would be kind of fun. But you do want to make sure. So I feel like the last thing that I will do, which I haven't done yet because I wanted to be able to show you that, But the last thing I'll do is I will kind of just stitch down the bottom of the flap here, because what the flap does is it really protects those threads. And if you're using the bag and taking stuff in and out, it prevents anything from getting snagged on them. And so you can notice that the bag doesn't go like all the way down, or the flap doesn't go all the way down to the bottom of the pattern. It's like a few inches short. So I probably wouldn't put any LEDs down here, just because I wouldn't want any of the threads to get snagged. So yeah, but this was a lot of fun, super cool. Here, I can turn it on so that you can see it through the bag here briefly. Burp, burp, burp. Definitely recommend it. Technochick.net. And yeah, the thread labeling was great. Would Velcro help, or permanent stitches? Velcro is a pretty good idea. Yeah. Like you could totally, just do either the sewable, or I'd probably do the sewable, because adhesive back Velcro doesn't always stick to fabric very well. So you could do the sewable Velcro around the sides here, and do it also around, on the bag, and just Velcro it down. So that way, I guess you could like access it if you needed to like fix it or change it or something like that. But I don't know. I think kind of just like stitching it down is probably fine. The other thing is with Velcro, like, well, first of all, I'm lazy and I don't want to do that much more hand stitching. So with the Velcro, you'd have to like go kind of all the way around each piece of the Velcro, so that it was really strongly, attached to the bag. And the other thing is that will show through on the front. So I was thinking of using white thread for that, so it wouldn't really show up on the front at all in the pattern. But if you have to do a lot of stitching, then and you have like 2 rows kind of for each of those Velcro strips, then yeah, it might show more than you want it to, especially because there will probably be sections where it cuts across some of the bag design that's in purple. So one more thing. Turning it back, right side out. There we go. And on again one more time. Woo! Oh yes, hook and loop tape versus Velcro, which is a trade name, but we all use it, kind of like Kleenex and tissues. So yeah. Anyway, this was really fun. Like it's a very gratifying project. Didn't take very long, especially for any knitters or fiber people out there. It's way faster than doing most knit projects. So yeah, it was really great. Highly recommend it. I'm kind of like ready to add LEDs to a ton of my tote bags now. It's like the new bedazzler. Ooh, maybe I should bedazzle them and add LEDs, and then it would just be crazy.
That would be super awesome.
I've never owned a bedazzler. Have you owned a bedazzler?
Yeah. I bedazzled one of my dad's pant cuffs.
Yeah. I think maybe we should get a bedazzler. I think the shop needs a bedazzler.
Support that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I am going to now switch to the phone camera so that I can pick it up and take it with me and show you the traffic light project that we have been working on. In the box. Oh, yeah. It's we're just technically challenged right now because the phone doesn't actually want to shut up, so I can hear myself through the output speakers of the phone. I can't get it to like go all the way down. So anyway, it's like fun stuff. New to live streaming. There's a lot to learn. So okay, gonna switch to this phone, which I'm not pointing at my crotch anymore. Nothing but the finest production quality here. All right. Okay, hey, it's me. Cool. So I'm gonna turn you around. So this is the traffic light project. Oh, this is weird. I can't see it on the.
Oh,
weird.
what happened? I think
it kind of like froze on the phone, but the
Yeah.
video is still working.
Yes.
Oh, this is great. If it's not one thing, right? It's like 10 things all at once. So, well, I don't want to leave.
You can just like
I
walk
could,
and I'll let you know if you're hot or cold.
Yeah. Let me try one thing here. Oh no, it's like really frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Nope.
hey, okay, hang on. Is it still?
Yes,
it's kind of.
still
It's
there.
frozen now. Okay, hang on. I think we got this. All right,
Okay.
success. Jeez. So, this is the traffic light, and we did this project. We've kind of been working on it. I don't know, for like a year now, maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So we've been working on it for like a year, kind of just bit by bit in pieces. I got these surplus traffic lights. Well, I got the traffic lights at a surplus store, $13 each. Amazing deal. I mean, how can you not buy $13 each traffic lights? You just can't. You can't afford to not buy them. So I got the traffic lights, and we were just like, oh, it'd be super cool to do like one of those like Simon games with it.
Audio is low.
Audio is low.
Oh, because you're using
we're using that phone
and you're walking around. Okay,
thank
so
you.
turn
Yeah.
that mic
Okay.
on and that mic off.
It's there's never a dull moment. Okay, I'm going to mute first and then unmute so that I don't, get you guys awful feedback. All right, muting. Unmuting. Okay. Should be okay. Oh boy, that's. Oh, and it timed out. So, all right, we're gonna have to play. I lost the game there for you, red flag. So I'll have to talk less, play more. All right, trying again. Okay. Green, yeah, green, yellow, and yay! 3 lights at the end. Awesome. So we also did some cool things. So if you make it to a sequence of like 10 or 12 or something like that, it actually, you can notice that it speeds up the longer you play. So starts making it a little bit harder. And then we were thinking of adding some modes so that there's an easy, medium, and hard mode. So for easy, you would like press the green button to start. For medium, you would press the yellow. For like hard mode, you would press the red. So maybe the green would continue being this, which is just like five like patterns long, and then medium might be 10 and speeding up more, and then hard is like 20 and it speeds up a lot by the end. So that could be really fun. But right now, I'll take it and turn around here. So right now, it's all wired. So the controller and the buttons and the traffic lights, they're all wired together and they're all plugged into the wall. And so what we thought would be nice, because this is such a big thing, we thought it would be nice to have the controller separate from the traffic lights, so that we can have like the traffic lights on top of the fridge. That just happens to be like a really good spot for them. And then you could play wirelessly, and the controller would just be battery powered, kind of from wherever, from like the couch or whatever in our little kitchen area. So what we want to do here, so yeah, what do we have going on here anyway? So first of all, we have this really sweet Leonardo clone, which I totally bought only for these graphics here. I mean, woman in a cat suit blowing on a soldering iron, how freaking cool is that? So yeah, we got them off of Amazon. I tried to find them recently and I didn't see any more, sadly. But like it looked like they had been discontinued. But yeah, super cool. So we still have a couple of these floating around. And then we're using, yeah, SparkFun's little like Arduino plus breadboard holder here. And so we just have a normal breadboard here, just to kind of serves to break out power and break out all the signals. It's a lot neater than it looks, I swear, on camera. But so we're basically, the 3 different buttons are all coming into the breadboard, and the Arduino is outputting signals to the different relays, which drive the traffic lights. And everything is just, going through the breadboard right now. So the relays, so these traffic lights are, full on 120 volt devices. So we can't just, hook them up to an Arduino button, which is a 5 volt device. So we use relays in order to control whether or not the power is on or off to each individual traffic light. You can see that they're labeled red, yellow, and green there. And each little relay board also needs 5 volts to power it. So you have 5 volts ground and the on-off signal going to each relay board. And then these terminals are just splitting out wall power. And you'll notice I'm not really pointing here because there is kind of exposed 120 volts going here. It's not UL safe right now. We will be getting this into a plastic enclosure, for more permanent and safe stuff. But anyway, so we have like line and neutral being split out there and going to each of the relays. I can't remember if we're switching line or neutral right now. It's been a while, but anyway, that is what's happening there. And then, this side is the power that comes in from the wall. And then these lines are all going to the traffic light and back. And, we connectorized everything so that it would be easy to take apart and move and stuff like that. Oh, and I'm going to put you on camera for a second, Robin. Don't freak out. Hello. So Robin and her dad built this cool enclosure, the wood enclosure for the traffic lights too. So they did an awesome job with that. It looks super pro. So what are we going to be doing? We are going to be essentially using like a cheap little key fob and as like a little RF link in the middle. And yeah, we could have done like an Arduino or something with that has Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something like that, but it's kind of expensive to add that to both ends, and it's just one device that has to talk to each other, and we just have to turn a signal like on and off. Like we don't need any real communications, or we don't need to really talk very much. So we were like, well, key fob would be pretty cool. So Adafruit sells key fobs and their receivers as a package for like $6. And so we grabbed 2 of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to essentially have, we're going to split it right here. at the signals to the relay. So the receiver will be like in line here right before the relays, and the key fob is going to be on the Arduino and button side. So the Arduino will still be, running all of our game code and deciding like whether or not to turn a traffic light on or off. But when it does, it is going to basically be wired to one of these buttons, A, B, C, or D. We'll probably like use ABC for red, yellow, green, and then the receiver will pick it up and it will turn on or off the red, yellow, green relay and light it up. So yeah, we thought that that was like a pretty simple and easy way of doing it. And so next time what we'll do, we did dig into the key fob a little bit. Oh, we got questions. Great job on the enclosure. Yeah, the wood enclosure is super good. Yes. So what we're going to be doing next week when our video works is wiring up the key fob board, which is right here. So we took it apart. It's kind of cool.
You want to?
Yeah, I guess I could switch to that camera. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Thank you much. Lovely. All right. So we took apart this key fob. We didn't have to damage it or anything. It just kind of pops apart. You get a little screwdriver in there, and the screen is frozen out. That's a good shot. I'm all like, so yeah, so we popped apart this little key fob here, and it's super cool. Like I am always interested in how things are built, especially buttons and switches, because there is so much important tactile feel there. And I think it's always interesting, like the stack up of stuff that's used to achieve that. So in this key fob, you can see on the outside, these are hard plastic pieces for each button. And if I'm gonna take this off. There we go. Yes, audio again. Okay. Awesome. So yes, so key fob, and it's kind of neat. A, B, C, and D are all this one part, and they're all held together by these like tiny little plastic bridges so that they can all move independently of each other. So this just like fits in there. And then there's this one silicone piece that goes underneath it. So that provides like a little bit of like squishy feel. And see if this comes up. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. So in the middle of each of these buttons, there's like a little puck kind of, there's just like a little cylinder of solid silicone that sticks up from it. Sometimes, I don't think that's the case with this one, but sometimes you'll see keypads designed that actually have a like different plastic there, a different material there. It could be like a harder rubber or actual plastic that's like co-molded with the silicone or the rubber underneath it. And that like it basically makes like a little actuator for pushing the button. And so to continue the stack up, we'll do this, shove that in there. The other thing that I think that's really cool is that, they just kind of extended, instead of just making it a flat piece, they extended it up. And so it actually serves as like a little gasket between the two halves of the enclosure, and that, seals it and keeps dust out. Okay, but what do these press on? You might think that they press directly on tact switches on the circuit board. They could, but they don't in this case. They press on these tiny little domes. Let's see if I can get like a good, how do we do this? A good thing there. So these they're kind of hard to see, but I mean, basically they are just little round domes that are stuck to this piece of kind of thick tape that is, it is die cut. It has rectangular cutouts in it. Oh, you can kind of see it there. If I line it up with my face. So you can see kind of the cutouts as I'm moving stuff around, and that lines up to like certain features on the circuit board. And then the circuit board is just these little 4 dots. So when this dome is depressed, the center and the outer ring are connected. And when it's not pressed, the center is not connected. So yeah, and then this guy is just kind of stuck on the circuit board. I'm gonna do this upside down, get it all aligned. So when you first take it apart, it looks like that. If we could focus, that would be nice, maybe. Yeah, whatever. We're just having a lot of, yeah, it's trying. We're having a lot of camera issues today. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. So you can feel here, you can like see if you can hear the click maybe. So yeah, it's like, it's very clicky and has like a nice positive clicky response to it. And then when it's all assembled in here, let's see if I can get it back together again. Has like kind of like these little spacers and stuff. So you just got to kind of line it up and get it on there. There we go. So when it's in the enclosure, it has like a really nice clicky tactile feel on these buttons. I'm sure we've all had like remotes with freaking mushy buttons. There's nothing worse than a mushy button. It's just like so not satisfying. Is just like pisses you off. Like, didn't anybody touch this thing before they shipped it? It's just like, "Rrr." And then sometimes then like a button wears out and you can't tell if you've pressed it or not, or you think you've pressed it and then you pressed it twice. And anyway, so I really appreciate, like, for a $6 little key fob, I'm quite impressed with the construction on it and the tactile feel to it. Not that we'll be using it at all as a tactile for any kind of tactile button presses, because we're going to wire the Arduino directly to the buttons. But yeah, it's cool. So comment here, the inside of the dome has conductive material. When the dome presses down, the material squishes down and makes contact between the ring and center of the switch. Yeah, that's basically it. Like, the dome is just, you know, nice and dome shaped. Normally, the outside of the dome is making contact. And then when you press it, the center then makes contact with the center pad. And yeah, and so then your center and your outside ring are connected. So yeah, that's exactly how the switch works. And like that kind of like dome tactile switches are pretty common in things. You know, they can also be used on those like kind of cheap keypads, but they just tend to be domes that just like don't have good action, sadly. So yeah, I haven't used those in a circuit design yet, because, like, as you can see, there are several different like construction layers, and there are some that I think that are big enough where you can solder around the outside of it and still depress it. But you know, I think I'm kind of guessing here, but I think one of the reasons that like these are not soldered and these are on this tape material that's kind of holding them over the buttons, is that when they're like this small, you know, this is very exaggerated, right? It's not, the middle is not actually like dimpling down that much. More like the whole dome is flexing. So I think that you might have to you might have to have some room for the outer ring of the little dome to actually move out. Which, if it was soldered down, you couldn't do. It might just be like a lot stiffer. So yeah, it's very interesting. Definitely like learning a bit by taking this stuff apart. So the other thing about this little key fob is, so of course I figured it was powered off of a coin cell battery, and it like took me a minute after taking it apart and looking like kind of looking at it to realize that there are actually two batteries here that they put in here, and they're in series. And that is awesome news for us because that means that this little guy is running off of like about 6 volts. And that's great because the Arduino runs off of USB, off of 5 volts. So at first I was thinking that this was going to be a 3-volt device and that I was going to have to interface our 5-volt Arduino with our 3-volt key fob. But it turns out that I think that we can just power the key fob straight off of 5 volts as well and not have any voltage or signal conversion in there. So that's super cool. They're double stacked. They're 2016s. So 20 millimeters around and 16, I feel like they're not 16 millimeters, maybe like 1.6 millimeters probably thick. So, and a 2032 is 20 millimeters round, and I think 3.2 millimeters thick. So the 16 is just half of 32. So you know that it's like the same diameter denoted by the 20 and like half the thickness. Yeah, 6 volts is yep, exactly. So it's 6 volts, but in a CR2032 form factor. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, of course they can't, they're really small capacity, right? They're probably like half the capacity of a single 2032. I don't know if it says on here what it is. No, it doesn't. But you know, this is all super low voltage stuff and super low power stuff. And it's probably good, you know, the battery's probably good for a while. So yeah, but we're of course just going to power the whole thing, just wire it all to 5 volts. And if my deductions and assumptions are incorrect, we will find out. But no, I think it'll actually be pretty good. Cool. Yeah, 16 is 10 times actual thickness. So yeah, so 2016 is 1.6 millimeters thick. Yeah. So yeah, that is what I had planned for the session is to actually do all of the wiring and you know, show soldering to this little board and soldering, well, probably not soldering actually on the other side, but the other one go. I think the other one's over there. It's okay. I have 2 of the key fobs because, you know, just in case we screw one up. But this little guy has a bent tab. Oh, there we go. You can see it on the red pretty clearly. So I'm just gonna like bend that back with my finger right now, just gently. All better. So yeah, so this guy on the output, you have you have power and ground, and oh, that's interesting. So this one does say like 5 volts. So so we have also on sort of the traffic light side of things, we have the traffic lights will still be plugged straight into the wall, but we also need a, you know, wall wart to 5 volt converter, basically a 5 volt voltage source. And we might actually, I mean, we have that relay board there. So, and I don't know if I have any extras of those, but there are like little bricks that you can get that are through hole parts that are like, you know, 120 volt AC in, 5 volt DC out, like I think an amp or something. And so we might just grab one of those so that we don't have to have 2 things plugged into the wall. Always nice to just have one thing plugged into the wall. And then we'll power this guy off of 5 volts. And it basically just has 4 data lines, 1 for each button. And I think we should just be able to hook those straight into the relays. The relays are kind of cool because they're actually like little relay boards. So it has a little bit of extra circuitry on it and like some opto isolation. And what's cool about those boards is that you can select whether or not it is whether or not they turn on with a 5 volt signal or with a 0 volt signal. So you can flip the polarity on the relays to correspond to whatever signal this guy is giving us. So yeah, we shall see how it all goes. I'm excited. I think it should be good. I think it should work. I think I've thought through this enough, but you know what? Like if it doesn't, that's fine too. That's part of being a project. Yes, always order multiples if budget allows. Definitely, especially if you're going to be like hacking into something and taking it apart. Like always good to have two on hand because it's always good to have one that you have not really taken apart to kind of refer back to. And of course, like taking pictures of things is also good at each step of undoing things. This was a simple enough thing that like I didn't really have to do that. But if it was a more complex thing that required a lot of steps, then yeah, taking pictures of each step is always good. I have definitely regretted not doing that in the past. So, yep. So I think that's about it for today. I'm going to figure out what's up with our HDMI converter and probably get a new one and like get a spare. Those are not cheap things though, sadly. But yes, looks like we're getting another one. So that's about it. I hope that you join us for next time. It should be good times of getting that traffic light up and running. I was also going to maybe do a screen share and show you the Arduino code and kind of like walk through what we're doing with each step of it. So, well, depending upon how much time we have. But yeah, that's about it. So comment, let's see, from previous discussions, PCB design tips, add opto isolation. It is nice to have opto isolation when you have relays involved. You know, it depends upon what you're doing, right? But whenever you have higher voltage on one side of a system and like lower voltage on another side, yeah, exactly. Especially when mixing voltages or plug-in interfaces, it's nice to keep those voltages really, really separate so that if any one component fails, you can't accidentally get like 120 volts into your 5-volt supply, essentially. You know, it's hard to imagine how like a mechanical relay would fail to actually, you know, short both halves, both the low voltage and high voltage half of the relay together, but I'm sure it's happened. And so if you add a little opto isolator in front of that, then what you're doing is you're actually, the opto isolators are little chips that use LEDs to pass signals, which is kind of cool. So there's like, so on one side there's a detector and on one side there's an LED. And so when you activate the LED, it lights up and the detector detects that and gets you your signal on the opposite side. So so there's really like nothing touching in those systems. Usually though, there is a common ground running through a lot of things. So, you know, there's even some question there, like to be fully, truly isolated, you would also want like an isolated ground. But there, you know, if you're doing things that are where you're designing it for like consumer goods and stuff like that, that can be a good thing to do. But for something like this, for the traffic light, just like regular opto isolation, mechanical relays should be all good. So yes, third tip, add diodes to prevent cross-mixing power and ground. Yep. Another tip, add fuses. Yeah, fuses are good. I admit that I am a little bit light on fuses. There are definitely things that I've made that I've added fuses to for sure. I tend to not use a lot of fuses in things just because depending upon the type of fuse and stuff, it can be hard for users to replace them. Yeah, I mean, there are these ones that are like resettable that reset themselves. Essentially, they're fuses. They're fuses that are temperature dependent. So when something is shorted, they like get really hot and they actually like open the circuit, and so then, you know, things cool off, things aren't shorted anymore, and then they'll close the circuit again. But like if you have, you know, if you really want that circuit to be like, you know, disconnected if there's a problem, then like a normal kind of thin filament fuse is the way to go. And it's nice to have on things that plug into the wall for sure. And a lot of power sockets on different pieces of equipment will like have like a little fuse tray built into it, and I've used those before. Those are kind of nice because they're super user accessible. All you need is like a little screwdriver, and you just pry out the fuse tray, take the little fuse out, put another one in. And a lot of those trays also have like a storage compartment for an extra fuse. So if you're super cool, you can like ship an extra fuse with your product just in case the user needs it, and then you know they'll have one handy right there and can fix their thing right away. Because usually what kills things are like power surges and the electric company. So yeah. Oh, Anderson power pole connectors were brought up. Yeah, I do like Anderson power poles. They're nice connectors. I've used them a lot before in previous jobs and stuff. They're not something like if you're not an electronics person, you would probably not really know what they look like. They are used in a lot of like hobby RC stuff though. But they're nice connectors that are kind of big. They're easy to crimp and they're easy to plug and unplug, and you can polarize them in different ways so that you can't accidentally like plug the wrong one into the wrong one. Ooh, power distribution for amateur radio. Interesting. I don't know anything about amateur radio actually. I have some people who are kind of like nudging me to get a ham, and maybe, but like, you know, if I get a ham license, then me and my friend Brittany are going to take over with like Feminist Radio Hour. But the problem is that our houses are not within line of sight of each other. So I would have to make sure that we can actually get to each other's houses having ham radios. I'm sure that there's a repeater somewhere though, because you know we're in adjoining communities. So yeah. Alrighty. Well, now I think we really are gonna go. I'm sure as soon as I go, the stupid camera will start working again. But it's been good to hang out for even a little while. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.